All right, going to take a little bit of a break from the SI coverage to talk about some roster moves, and they're all actually drops, so we're going to be looking at XSET, Mirage, and G2. Okay, we're starting with Prod being dropped from XSET here. He says, I've been benched from the XSET R6 roster and am available to trial with any teams with no restrictions. He talks about what roles he can and wants to play, and then his little 2 out of 2 part, he says that if you want to know anything about him as a player, you can talk to his previous teammates, which he lists here. And all right, so at this point, I guess it's only Razor left on the XSET roster, and I sort of thought going forward that Prod and Razor would remain on the roster, but seeing as though Prod's not going to be on the roster, maybe Razor won't be either, and it'll be a just completely new roster. We'll have to see. And it makes sense that Beast Coast and XSET are just completely blowing up their rosters, considering their poor performance throughout the entire 2021 season. But you know, maybe there's an argument to be made that given that each team picked up multiple players going into Stage 3, that the teams deserve a little bit more time to marinate and gel. But I guess we'll never really know going forward. So maybe we'll see Prod joining another team, maybe Mirage. And well, let's take a look at Mirage here. All right, so Mirage says, today we announced the release of Nyx and not loading from our R6 NAL roster. Okay, so these guys are both gone, and let's take a look at what they had to say on the matter. All right, so Twitlonger coming up. Nyx just says Mirage decision here, and let's see the Twitlonger Mirage decision. I'm sure this doesn't surprise a lot of people. I am perceived as the obvious player to cut. I've put in so many hours, so much work and determination to help Mirage succeed, and unfortunately it didn't work. The management of Mirage have now stepped in and are making the changes that they think will net them better results. I have no hardships with anyone on the team, and I truly do wish them the best. And then I'll leave it here for just a second if you care to pause it. He talks about his history a little bit and just the whole situation. And going forward a little bit. Okay, so that's Nyx, and then we have another drop from Mirage, as you saw before, not loading. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Mirage decision to drop me, and then we got another Twitlonger coming up hot. Here we go. Mirage decision to drop me. The decision to remove me was not like Nyx's, so if it wasn't completely clear, it seemed to be more of a management decision to remove Nyx, and it was more of a roster decision, i.e. the players on the team were looking for some sort of change, and that change was to get rid of loading. So, I mean, these came simultaneously, but I don't know if one of them was decided previously and they're just being announced at the same time, or what the deal is exactly, but let's continue reading. Mine was pushed for primarily by players, and management simply did not oppose. The reason for my removal was performance and drive base. My heart just hasn't been in it for the last month or so. I wasn't as eager to play Siege and improve like I had been during stages 1 and 2, and again, you can continue to read, I think. Okay, so right. Here's most of it, and then I'll just scroll down for the rest if, again, you care to read it. And, oh, yeah, it's just this little line down here. All right, so he basically says that, continues talking about what he was talking about. Thanks some of the players on the team. He says if he doesn't get any offers for Pro League, he's going to go back to Atlanta and, continue with non-Siege endeavors. So I think people are a little bit confused about this one, and maybe even about the Nyx thing. Nyx is sort of a controversial player. Some people have varying opinions on him. I don't know what needed to happen with Mirage. They definitely were struggling. They had, maybe it was just a fluke in stage 1 when they got 3rd place, but that was sort of on the coattails of Hot and Cold's incredible performance. And then they didn't do too well in the other 2 stages. They remained competitive in a lot of it, and looking back in hindsight now, like, they definitely made some what you might call upsets and influenced things more so than like XSET and Beast Coast did. Right, so dropping loading, he was definitely not too hot when he first got into Pro League back in like stage 1, and then he was given some sort of accolade at some point, the most improved player. So I mean, you'd think that you want to keep around somebody that was on such an upward trajectory, but as he says himself, he was sort of stagnating over the course of the last month. And as he mentioned somewhere in this Twitlonger, he talks about how he feels like it's more of a product of his environment. It wasn't just him causing himself to stagnate, it was just the team environment. And so I guess if that's the case, then some sort of change needed to come. Maybe loading is the correct drop, maybe not, we'll have to see. I think maybe the other one, if there was going to be a different drop than these two, would probably be Benji, but he's done well. Dream has just been a standout player most of his time in Pro League, and then Thomas is pretty new on the roster, and if I remember right, in their games, the handful of games that they played in the NA closed qualifier, I think Thomas and Dream were performing pretty well. And okay, so I think that's pretty much all for Mirage that I need to mention. I guess we're looking for 2 more players to join. I think a lot of people think Thinking Nade. We'll have to see. There was also some talk about, even before these drops, if Thinking Nade was going to join this roster. My understanding is, and well, rumor has it that Mirage, maybe it's not even a rumor, maybe it's confirmed, Mirage pays, I think, the least of any of the Pro League teams, and thinking Nade being a a world champion, a former world champion, might not want to join a lower tier roster that pays less, but maybe he's just all about the grind and will do anything to get back into T1. Who really knows? And right, so bunch of spots to fill in NA on that. One for at least one for Astralis, 2 for Mirage, 4 or 5 for XSET, a bunch for Beast Coast, assuming that that leaked roster or whatever is not the case. If it is, then I suppose they already have it filled. Maybe XSET already has their things figured out, and maybe these other teams do as well. But as far as I understand it, the only thing that seems fully leaked is the Beast Coast one. That was in a previous video. All right, so let's look at the last one, and I sort of just recapped NA there because the last one is not in NA. It is in EU. So this is Yonka from G2. I'm officially benched from G2 Esports. I'm still motivated to compete and reach my goals. I have permission to seek other opportunities, and I'm open for offers. For inquiries, please contact his email here. Yeah, so Yonka didn't put up that good of a scoreline. I think he was a little bit of a controversial pickup when he got picked up, and probably out of all the members of G2, it makes the most sense for him to be dropped. Virtue has had his highs and lows, and I think he definitely didn't live up to the expectations set by him being picked up. Citizen's been quite good, even if he hasn't always gelled with his team per se. And then Kayak and Hungry have done their thing. So G2 definitely needs some sort of change. I think a lot of people tend to forget that they have done pretty well at times this year, but it's sort of been downhill for them since Pengu left, right? So they need some sort of restructuring and probably do something around Citizen, I would think, or as poorly as their roster has performed at times, it has not really impeded Citizen's performance. So, he's done quite well. He's proven himself to be just a great player, but it seems like they need somebody that can fill a more aggressive role to complement him. He's not too much of a first entry player. He's good at the second entry or lurk kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe they just restructure the current players that they have, but maybe instead of Yonka, they'll try to find just a really, really aggressive, powerful spearhead kind of player. We'll have to see. Right, so I think that's the last one. Just a handful of drops here, 4 of them in total. And yeah, we just keep seeing drops, and we don't see very many pickups just yet. And I'm sure post SI we'll see a bunch more, maybe not a bunch more, some number more drops. Probably some of the other teams are waiting to announce them after SI. Probably not too many of the teams at SI are going to make changes unless some of them get absolutely dumpstered at SI. We'll have to see. Right, and okay, so SI coming up it's just 4 days now, right? So coming up pretty quickly. I, again, still have some more coverage to do. Maybe, I don't know if I'll do like a comprehensive predictions thing, but I definitely have some, a little bit of analysis. I'm going to look at, I'm going to sort of rank the teams within the groups and then maybe overall just based on their international performance. So it's going to be based on numbers, but I'm going to give my assessment based on the numbers because it's hard to compare some things and other things, right? Okay. And I guess I'll just mention, I got several new subs. I think people are enjoying the SI coverage because, well, there's just not that many people that do it, right? So here I am. Welcome, new subscribers. And okay, give me a like, give me a comment if you have any comments to make. And with all of that being said, catch you in the next video.